Lydia Graham here, A&L Hot Topics. Just wanted to jump on real quick and talk about Abrego Garcia. Before I start, can you go ahead and subscribe, like, share, hit that bell notification and all that good stuff so that my channel will grow and that you will see more of the truth of what's going on in our country? Different approach here. You know, you have a lot of people like the Midas Touch and a lot of the other people that are doing great things, and I actually look up to them because I get a lot of resourced information from them. But I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm being me, hanging out at home. I don't have a fancy studio or fancy backgrounds or lighting, so I'm just being me and just showing up and doing my thing. So my channel, A&L Hot Topics, is going to be bringing you all the hot topics of what's going on in our country regarding what's going on with our politics, going on with the president, the vice president, and anyone else that's associated with this government. I also want to talk about Jasmine Crockett, AOC, and Bernie Sanders, and all the things that they're doing. So there's a lot to come. In this segment, we're going to talk about Abrego Garcia. I want people to get to know that name. It's very important that that name does not fade from your mind. And I also want to say that he's not the only one. He's not the only one that's been taken away from our country, deported illegally. When I say illegally, through not going through due process. And I will go over, I'm going to do a separate video about a government attorney and due process in a separate video. I want to do one each on those topics because it's very important for us to understand what those things mean. But right now I want to stick to one topic. And it's funny because all those things do coincide with what's going on. So it's okay if people are talking about it all at once. But I like to do things in segments because I really like to break down and educate people on what's going on and how it all works. And for me, when I'm talking about multiple things, sometimes I get carried away and then I forget what I'm talking about and it's hard to come back. So that's why I like to do one segment on each thing. So we have a segment of government attorneys, how they work and how they're helping in this case. Also due process and how that works and why that's so important. So Abrego Garcia was deported and he should not have been. He was deemed a criminal by the Trump administration and taken out of the US with no due process. He is in El Salvador. And according to 9 judges, 9 Supreme Court judges, he should be brought back to the U.S. immediately. Like the plane should have been turned around by now. But now you have the DOJ, the Department of Justice, that works underneath Donald Trump, that's been handpicked, hand-selected, stating that the reason why they can't just bring him back is because he's in El Salvador, and El Salvador they have the control over whoever's over there because it's a different country, and they have different policies, et cetera, which, by the way, could be partly true. However, he was wrongfully deported by the United States government, and he can be brought back. According to a recent statement by the U.S. government, who I don't trust anymore. He's alive and well. It said Abrego Garcia was alive and well. Don't really know what that means. Anything that I'm stating right now, if you're saying, well, how does she know that? It's something that I've been listening to through other media outlets that are very credible, and also things that I've been reading through New York Times and a lot of other different articles that are coming out as we speak. Also, a lot of this stuff is being said through the press conferences and everything like that. But I will also tie a link to the bottom of all the things that I'm discussing so that you can see it for yourself. So you can see where I'm saying, okay, they're saying he's okay. I found that article. Anything that I'm talking about will be shared at the bottom of my video. I meant to say that in the beginning. Abrego Garcia, I want to say something to you. I know that you're probably not watching this. You might not ever watch this. I'm not sure. But I want to say that I'm praying for you and your family. To Abrego Garcia's family, I am praying that your husband, your father, your nephew, your son, whoever he is to you, comes back home and comes back safely. I don't know if that means anything to you, but it's from my heart and I truly mean it. I want to say that I didn't think that Trump and his administration would listen to everything that the U.S. Supreme Court judges would say. And I want to say something else. I don't care what Trump does. I don't care what his administration does. I don't care what the DOJ does and all the attorneys that are affiliated with that group of crazy people. I don't care what they do. I still respect the federal courts and the U.S. Supreme Courts, every judge that is out there doing the right thing. I also respect due process and the law. Just wanted to say that for whatever it's worth. I also wanted to say that when I first started this podcast series, I didn't know what to talk about. If you look back at some of my videos, I'm very nervous. I'm very almost trying to be like a news reporter. And then I realized that's not me. I am someone that can't pretend or put away my emotions for the camera. My parents used to say that my heart shows through my eyes. I'm going to get a little emotional as I say that because right now I am really worried about the people that have been taken out of this country wrongfully. I'm seriously sad for them and their families and their friends and their colleagues. Can you imagine, like, you're going to work one day and your boss is expecting you, or you told your kids you'd be back to pick them up from daycare, or whatever the situation is, and then just taken? Because that's what this is like. This is like a taken situation. It really is. I know that that sounds a little dramatic, but it is. It's right now, the world is dramatic. I'm not making this stuff up. I don't think I could make this stuff up. But one thing I wanted to leave with you guys before I go is that we have laws, and no matter how lawless this president is, let's pay attention to what the laws are. And the law says that there's due process, and that Abrego Garcia and whoever else was taken out of this country need to be returned home and go through that due process. And if through that due process they're found to be guilty of something, whatever, then it's done the right way. So that's pretty much all I have to say today. I will be back to talk about government attorneys and due process and whatever else is going on that's popping up as we speak. These headlines are out of control, but I can only do one headline at a time. And that's it for me today. I'm going to enjoy the rest of this sunshine for as much as it is. Get out and get yourself some vitamin D, drink some water, and people, doesn't hurt to pray. It really doesn't. Have a good one.